July 16, 1997. Wembley Stadium, London, England. The night air vibrated with anticipation as 88,000 souls breathed as one entity, their collective presence transforming the massive venue into something almost living. The History World Tour had already broken records across Europe, but tonight felt different. There was an electricity that transcended the usual concert excitement, something deeper and more profound. Perhaps it was the perfect summer evening, the sky transitioning from azure to indigo as twilight embraced the city. Perhaps it was the knowledge that this would be Michael's last London show for this tour. Or perhaps it was simply the magic that sometimes happens when the right performer meets the right audience at exactly the right moment in time. The stage stood massive and imposing against the darkening sky, its elaborate scaffolding and lighting rigs casting long shadows across the field. The 2-hour spectacular was nearing its conclusion, each song having built upon the last to create a journey that had taken the audience through the full spectrum of human emotion. Joy, exhilaration, tenderness, passion. Michael had guided them through it all with the masterful touch of an artist who understood the architecture of feeling. Backstage, Michael prepared for the final number, changing into a simple white shirt that seemed to glow under the stage lights. His team moved around him with practiced efficiency, adjusting his earpiece, dabbing away perspiration, offering water. But those closest to him noticed something different in his demeanor. A stillness, a focus that went beyond his usual pre-performance concentration. "Are you all right?" his longtime choreographer whispered, concerned by the unusual quiet. Michael nodded, his gaze distant. "I just feel connected tonight," he said softly, "like we're all part of something bigger than a concert." The choreographer had worked with Michael long enough to know when he was experiencing one of those rare moments of clarity that sometimes came to him before a particularly significant performance. He simply squeezed Michael's shoulder and stepped back, giving him the space he needed. As the opening notes of the final song began to filter through the stadium sound system, a hush fell over the crowd. The song choice was deliberate, not an upbeat dance number to send the audience home on a high of adrenaline, but something more reflective, more meaningful. Man in the Mirror had always held special significance for Michael. Its message of personal responsibility, of change beginning with the individual, resonated deeply with his own philosophy. Tonight, it would serve as both conclusion and benediction. Michael walked to center stage alone, no dancers, no elaborate production elements. Just a man, a microphone, and a message. The simplicity of it was striking after the spectacular visual feast that had preceded it. The stadium lights dimmed except for a single spotlight that caught him in its glow, turning his white shirt luminescent against the darkness. He stood motionless for a long moment, head bowed, absorbing the energy of the massive crowd. Then he began to sing. From the first note, it was clear this would be no ordinary performance. Michael's voice carried an emotional weight that seemed to reach beyond the boundaries of the stadium, beyond the night itself. The lyrics about reflection and personal change took on new depths through his interpretation. Each word felt not performed, but lived, as if he were discovering their meaning for the first time alongside the audience. The crowd responded instinctively to this authenticity. Throughout the concert, they had been enthusiastic, responsive, even raucous at times. Now they grew almost reverent, lighters raised high, creating a constellation of flames that mirrored the emerging stars above the open-air stadium. As the first chorus approached, something remarkable happened. Without prompting, the audience began to sing along. Not the usual scattered voices joining in here and there, but a unified wave of sound that rose from the crowd like a living thing. 88,000 voices joined as one, creating a choir that enveloped Michael's lead in a blanket of harmony. The sound was raw, imperfect in its technical execution, but profoundly moving in its humanity. Michael faltered momentarily, clearly affected by this spontaneous connection. Those in the front rows saw his eyes widen, then fill with emotion. He recovered quickly, professional to his core, but something had shifted in the performance. It was no longer Michael Jackson singing to an audience, but a communal experience of music, as it was always meant to be, a bridge between souls. As the song built toward its emotional peak, Michael stepped back from the microphone, allowing the audience's voices to carry the melody. He closed his eyes, listening, absorbing. The stadium lights had gradually illuminated the crowd during the song, and now the full scope of the human tapestry before him was visible. Faces of every age, every ethnicity, united in this moment of shared expression. It was during the instrumental bridge that the unplanned moment occurred, the moment that would be discussed, analyzed, and remembered long after the concert itself had faded into history. Michael walked to the very edge of the stage, his gaze sweeping across the crowd. Then, with a deliberate, almost ceremonial movement, he raised his right hand and pointed toward the night sky. The gesture was simple, but charged with meaning. Was he pointing to the heavens, to God, to some higher purpose? Was it a reference to the song's message of looking beyond oneself? Or was it simply an artist's intuitive response to an extraordinary moment? Whatever his intention, the crowd's reaction was immediate and astonishing. As if choreographed, though entirely spontaneous, 88,000 people raised their hands in mirror image of Michael's gesture. 88,000 arms extended toward the stars. 88,000 fingers pointing upward in unison. The sea of humanity became a forest of reaching arms, stretching towards something beyond themselves. The visual impact was overwhelming. From the highest tiers of the stadium to the front row, not a single section remained unmoved. Even the security personnel, the technical crew, the vendors who had seen countless concerts in this venue, all found themselves participating in this unplanned communion. On stage, Michael visibly reacted to the sight. His composed performance facade cracked, revealing a moment of pure, unguarded emotion. Those close enough could see tears forming in his eyes, could see his lips form the words, "Thank you," though no sound carried through the microphone. It was a rare glimpse of the man behind the legend, genuinely moved, genuinely humbled by the connection he had created. For several heartbeats, time seemed suspended. The music continued, but existed almost separate from this silent exchange between artist and audience. Then, as if remembering his role, Michael returned to the microphone for the final chorus. His voice, always controlled and precise, now carried a slight tremor of emotion. The crowd sensed this vulnerability and responded with even greater fervor, their voices rising to support his, to carry the song forward when emotion threatened to overwhelm him. If this story moves you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more moments that reveal the true heart of Michael Jackson, beyond the spectacle and controversy. These genuine connections with his audience show us the man who used his extraordinary gifts not just to entertain, but to unite and inspire. As the final notes of the song faded, Michael didn't immediately take a bow as he had after other numbers. Instead, he stood silent, his hand over his heart, his gaze taking in the stadium one section at a time, as if trying to make eye contact with every single person present. The audience, sensing the significance of the moment, responded with applause that transcended the usual post-song reaction. This wasn't just appreciation for a performance well delivered. It was acknowledgement of a shared experience that had touched something essential in everyone present. The applause continued, building rather than diminishing with time. It took on a rhythm, became a heartbeat that pulsed through the stadium. 2 minutes passed, then 3, then 5. Still, the ovation continued. Michael remained center stage, visibly moved, occasionally wiping at his eyes. His band members exchanged glances, uncertain whether to prepare for an encore or to accept that they had witnessed something that could not be followed, could not be enhanced. After 7 full minutes, Michael finally raised his hands, gently requesting silence. The crowd responded immediately, the applause fading to reveal an expectant hush. "Thank you," he said, his speaking voice softer than many expected, intimate despite the massive venue. "In all my years of performing, I have never—" He paused, emotion making his voice catch. "I have never felt what I felt tonight." The simplicity of the statement, its obvious sincerity, triggered another wave of applause. Michael waited for it to subside before continuing. People often ask me why I perform, why I keep pushing myself from city to city, year after year. He gestured toward the audience, a sweeping motion that encompassed the entire stadium. This is why. This connection. This moment when we all become one through music. His words, unscripted and from the heart, resonated through the vast space. What happened tonight? When you all pointed to the sky with me. That will stay with me forever. You've honored me in a way I can never adequately thank you for. A voice called from the crowd, clear in the momentary silence. We love you, Michael. The sentiment was immediately echoed by thousands of voices, a spontaneous chorus of affirmation. Michael's smile in response was unguarded, radiant with genuine happiness. And I love you, he replied, his hand again moving to his heart. All of you, more than you will ever know. With those words, Michael took his final bow of the evening. The house lights remained dimmed as he exited the stage, allowing him a moment of privacy as he was overcome with emotion just beyond the audience's view. His team gathered around him in the wings, offering silent support, recognizing that words were inadequate to address what had just transpired. The crowd dispersed slowly, reluctantly, many lingering in their seats long after the stage had gone dark. Conversations were hushed, reflective. Strangers embraced, exchanged contact information, bound by the shared experience. It was as if no one wanted to break the spell, to return to the ordinary world that waited outside the stadium walls. In his dressing room after the show, Michael sat quietly, still processing. His manager entered, carrying a large envelope. People have been leaving these at every exit, he explained, placing the package on the table beside Michael. Inside were hundreds of hastily written notes on ticket stubs, program pages, even napkins and receipts, any paper that could be found. Messages of gratitude, of personal connection, stories of how Michael's music had affected lives. One in particular caught his eye, written in careful script on the back of a Wembley Stadium postcard. Tonight you pointed to the sky and made us all look up together. For one moment, 88,000 strangers weren't strangers anymore. Thank you for reminding us we're all under the same sky, all capable of the same reflection, all responsible for the same world. Emma, Section 214, Row 53-inch. Michael carefully folded the note and placed it in his wallet, where it would remain for years, a tangible reminder of a transcendent moment in a career filled with spectacular achievements. The Wembley performance entered music legend, discussed by critics and fans alike as one of those rare instances where art transcends entertainment to become communion. Bootleg recordings circulated, though they never captured the full emotional impact of being present. Those who were there spoke of it with a reverence usually reserved for religious experiences, often saying, "You had to be there to understand." And perhaps that was the truest measure of what happened that night. It defied complete description, existed most fully in the lived experience of those present. In interviews years later, when asked about his most meaningful performance, Michael would often grow quiet, reflective. London, 1997, he would say simply, "The night 88,000 people pointed to the sky with me." He never elaborated further, as if additional words would diminish rather than clarify the experience. When Michael passed away in 2009, fans gathered spontaneously at Wembley Stadium, though it had since been rebuilt, to pay tribute. Among the flowers and photographs they left, one image appeared repeatedly, a simple silhouette of a man pointing toward the stars, accompanied by thousands of reaching hands. It needed no explanation for those who remembered, and for a brief moment on that summer evening in July 1997, 88,000 individuals had become a single entity, united by music and movement, by the simple human gesture of looking beyond themselves towards something higher. In a world increasingly divided, increasingly isolated, they had experienced the power of true connection. And in that moment, a performer accustomed to adulation had been genuinely humbled by the gift his audience had given him, the gift of showing him that his music had achieved its highest purpose, transcending entertainment to become a vehicle for human unity.